Good evening, everybody. This is Anup, Senior Coach at Leverage Edu. And as we are following the series on PhD abroad, today we have come up with a topic which is PhD in US. Before we go ahead and talk about the different uh, aspects of doing your PhD or starting your PhD. Um, I would like to say a few things. Is the recap from the previous sessions. Brief about me because probably new people are joining, you watching this from different parts of the world or from India. I have done my master's and PhD in biomedical sciences in different geographies. So basically graduated in the UK and then moved to Germany in Europe and worked for my PhD in collaboration with different scientists and researchers across Europe. And then for my postdoctoral studies and further research and establishing my career, I also have worked and lived in Singapore. Today, in this topic, definitely we are going to cover a lot of aspects of how US is so popular in terms of doing your PhD and other aspects as well. Before that, I would like to give an insight at Leverage. What actually we do. We are India's most trusted university admission platform for studying abroad. If you're planning to study abroad and wish to start your international study journey, then feel free to reach out to us. We at Leverage help you to reach your dream study abroad destination. If you're confused, like how, where, and where to apply, we can help you. Because it's a very cumbersome process and it takes a lot of efforts to compile an application for any study program, whether at bachelor's or master's or PhD level. We here at Leverage with different specialists and mentors. We help you to achieve that. So whether it's an application process that includes writing a killer SOP or preparing for the interviews after you get your you proceed to the next steps of an application, helping you also later on once you have admits and queries with scholarship, loans, accommodation, and lots more. You can reach us at leverageedu.com and avail the benefits of our university admission services. So we get into the topic today. Americas, they can boast about because there's thousands of universities, and it's the biggest and most popular destination for PhD study abroad. It's also unique when we compare it to as we also took this up in the preliminary session that how the programs are different, and I gave you a bit of flair for each of the countries, that how what is the duration of the program and what are the prospects and how do you choose a program. And in the next series of doing your PhD abroad, we'll also cover up application, what are the elements that you need to understand, how do you approach a supervisor. There's a lot of questions and very interesting things that we need to cater before we embark this application journey. So US has a different approach. It's fundamentally different from UK and Europe. It's a structured degree program that features comprehensive training, alongside the independent research. So today in this talk, we'll touch upon what actually is the opportunity that is offered by US universities, and why do people choose, and what is the program, what is the length in a PhD program, what are the steps, like how do you do courses, how do you decide for a dissertation, what's happened after dissertation, a generic funding process, fund tuition fees, and lots more. So in the next half an hour, we'll touch upon these points. So to start with would be what it offers, the PhD opportunities and the reasons why you would want to choose PhD in US. Basically, 1 million of international students are actually abroad in the United States, studying at different levels. And for PhD, they have a rigorous process actually. To graduate study, it delivers a standard of training and professional development that offers surpass the minimum requirements of a traditional research focused doctorates. It's a lengthy program. It's a big commitment, and you can also see, when we talk about how it starts with courses, and you can feel that it's more like a taught program that to start with for a couple of years, and then also you at that point you decide to that you are ready for you're specialized in a certain area, and then you can move into choosing a supervisor and moving on with your dissertation topic to research for the next 3-4 years. So generally, it's a lengthy program. So accessibility, world leading research universities and research, international community, innovation, and opportunity. These are the reasons that leads to people choosing United States for their PhD. And accessibility, when we get into this point, we can understand that there are a lot of universities, a lot of opportunities, a lot of programs, and different and generally the funding is associated with the program. So compared to UK, EU, where you might get caught up with a self-funding situation, or you might get up caught up with too much of a competition, because for one or two positions there's thousands of applications and their intake is pretty low. But when you are trying to look for your in your field for a PhD in different US universities, you get a lot of accessibility, and then they are world class. I mean, you've heard about different universities for research and for academia. I mean, universities like the top Ivy schools and other colleges, for example, Caltech, Stanford, MIT, Princeton, Harvard, Yale, Chicago, Pennsylvania, John Hopkins for medicine, Berkeley, Columbia, California, Los Angeles, Cornell, Duke, for a lot of these universities for your data science, or you're going to technology, for biomedical sciences, University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, Northwestern, Carnegie Mellon for technology and medical sciences, New York, California, San Diego. So these universities are really prestigious, and top American universities, which also take the label of Ivy. And getting an admission and doing your PhD, it's a huge reputation, and you get a lot of it's an accolade when you are passing out from these universities for your future pursuits. So these are the reasons basically that will you will choose, basically to doing a PhD in the United States. So the next thing that we want to talk about is the most important thing is to focus on, whether it's an institution or it's a university, is the graduate program. So generally, post your bachelor's, all of these programs, whether it's master's or PhD, they come under graduate program or graduate studies, and you'll be called as a grad student. And around 1,500 of the US 4,500 or so universities, they award doctoral degrees. And you can distinguish between public and a private. Most of the funding, the government fundings to the public university, as we talk about a lot of the universities, when I was mentioning about these, they receive public funding. And then there is also one concept of in-state and out-of-state. So in-state students, they have subsidized education, and when you have out of state, for example, if an international student, you'll have to pay more, regardless whether you're a citizen of a different US state or you're outside of the United States. So private universities, obviously tuition fees are higher, and there are also universities that do not seek funding from the public sources, but they have their own funding that's from the students. And there were a lot of institutes of prominence like Scripps Institute and other institutes in Loyola in US that if you talk about the biomedical sciences or biological sciences, do a lot of great research, and they are able to have excellent facilities, and so many students also try to get their PhD from these institutes apart from the universities they would apply. So larger universities have several graduate schools focusing on different subjects, for example, law, management, or biological sciences. And as we said, these highlighted these universities. US performs really well in global rankings. So if you see the rankings by QS, you would see that a lot of US universities ranks up at the top of the table, and because of the far quality of research and of the faculties, and the promotion of the academic research, and giving opportunities for a variety of students to pursue their field of research in a form of a lot of funding. So I think that's why people also choose, because of the rankings, because of the prestige, because of the funding available, as compared to US and Europe, where funding can be limited, funding can be self-funding mode, or in the UK, you straight away start with your graduate study, which is totally different in US. It's a big place, 4 to 6 years is a long time. And there's a great choice of picking up a school, a supervisor, and a program. So I think there are a lot of cities, states, and different universities. And so the most advisable thing that should be given to a student is to choose a place where you will be able to spend this 4 to 6 years after you get an admission, so that it's also good for your academic studies and for your mental and physical and your overall growth in a particular state in US, and looking forward to the brighter prospects after your PhD. Next, we come to a point that the structure of the program. They have taught classes, assessments, and it culminates into an exam, comprehensive exam. If you pass that exam, then you get into a stage that's called a dissertation stage. So couple of years you are doing a lot of rotations, a lot of taught classes and assessments, to finally show your performance and also your excellence, that you are suitable for certain research which you want to pursue ahead, and do an original research. So until now, the first couple of years is totally unique in US, where you're spending into courses and classes and assessment, and you are given grades for that, and you need to pass in a comprehensive exam to move into a research stage. This in UK and EU, it's totally different. In Europe, you have mostly in the university, or if you are applying for a standalone projects in institutes, you straight away start with the program. And in the United States, you get a chance to explore it like a taught program, and the length generally is 4 to 6 years, where a student spends the first few years in a post work stage, and then later in a dissertation stage. The academic year in the United States of 2 teaching semesters, so August to December and January to May. So you'll enroll in a specific graduate program within a graduate school, and this program determines the courses available. So it all depends on your field, and your on the school and the intake and the program and the supervisors. So these courses, actually, the first few years which you delve into, consist of core and elective courses, and and also which can be relevant to your PhD. You are free to choose those courses, and this freedom is really the good thing to the students who also understand at a certain point that these are the few subjects, or these are the subjects, or these are the courses that gives me a holistic understanding of that particular area. For example, I want to get into cancer biology, but I would like to take a couple of subjects, for example, in immunology or biochemistry, to understand both of the general and the medical side of a problem. So that could be one example where the courses will help you. Most universities have separate graduate school and a program for different courses as well. Once you complete all these courses and the requirements, then you give an exam, you pass that exam, you then move into your zone of original research. So you pick up a lab and you move ahead. That's for the biological sciences. For a lot of this time, this is how you move on. And in the latest series, when we talk about PhD application in general in different countries, we'll explore what are the different components of an application and how do you choose a professor ahead of your application, or the requirements, for example, of a proposal, which actually you refine while you are doing your research. So most of the PhD applications in United States um, uh, uh, will require a research statement in your application stage, and that's just a bit of a puzzle which you solve later on when you're enrolled, because in a couple of years you have a lot of changes that you will kind of figure out that when you started up you had a research statement, but when you are into the research stage you have to propose, and many things can get changed. So that's why they require us short research statements to understand what are your goals with your PhD, why do you want to do this particular PhD, why this particular research, previous experience. When you are into that research stage, you pick up a supervisor and you have a committee. So now when you are into the last 3-4 years, you will assign a committee, and every month there is a one-on-one discussion. Probably every few months you have a committee meeting, and every end of the annual year you submit a report, and then you move on. So if you adhere to the regulations, if you meet the requirements of the courses and also of the research that you are kind of building up, then you move into the next year, then you move into the final year, where the committee decides that you have a sufficient thesis to deliver to the school as an original research. And then you have a meeting finally with your mentor, with your supervisor and your co-supervisors, and the other admission panel, and even the director of the school, to decide for a submission of a thesis and a dissertation or a viva. That generally happens at the end of your program, in the end of your 5 to 6 years. Most of the institutions, so this is the structure of the program. Now these might change depending on of your courses, and depending on what is your course, in arts or humanities, whether in English, literature, or other courses apart from STEM, where you might be having a different time frame and different scale, which you depends also you when you connect with your supervisor, and it's always this refinement of a topic until it is a novel research which you have already published. And also publication is really required when you are defending your PhD in the US, mostly in the UK and EU. There are requirements of many universities in the UK, like the top universities. They will require a couple of publications. In EU, you can get away with it based on your work and your defense. That is the oral defense, or the viva, or the dissertation final talk that you present to the school. You can get away with a publication or so, but a publication or few manuscripts in pipeline is really important to move into the next step if you're going into an academia. And if you've decided that you want to go for a postdoctoral research in STEM, then I think a couple of papers and conference attendance, and also networking, and attending seminars and webinars. All of these things are the part of the full program that a student goes through, and some of the things as an obligation, and some of the things from the student side about how do they build their trajectories of their research. Most of the tuition fees, if we talk about the tuition fees and funding, the average of around 13,000 per year for the in-state, and higher fees for the international students at the public institutions or universities. There are other aspects that we'll also talk about in the next series, that is the application and the post-admit visa application in different geographies. How do you apply for a visa? In Europe, you apply for a residence permit. In UK and US, you apply for a student visa. In Canada, also similarly, you apply for a student visa. And obviously, before we close it, I want to talk about a little overview on application, which we will talk in the next series. That is how the application happens. Application of a PhD is totally different from the master's or the bachelor's application of your choice of course, which you are applying into the abroad universities. The most important thing is to understand, why do you want to do a PhD? This question is there like millions of times, and if you Google search or if you study this in Quora, this is the most important thing to ask when we are going through these webinars. Why do I want to do a PhD? Is my aim to move on with the academia? Is my aim to be into teaching? Is my aim to become a professor of a certain area? Is my aim is to do research and development? Is my aim is to move into industries where I can be an R&D scientist, or I can be a researcher, or I can be in a public or a government or a non-government or an NGO sector for my, for example, PhD in a public policy or economics or those areas? Do you want to get into an industrial setting or an academia? This question is really important when we are discussing about different PhD programs, different geographies, different institution, different ways of approaching a supervisor, or different ways of applications, and how do we apply, and also the success rate and the application competence, and the difficulties that one may face while applying, and the rejection and the myths that we are told while we decide about doing a PhD, will be busted in the respective coming sessions. So application component. Very shortly, I'll give this overview. In this application, the first step is to decide the geography, decide having a thorough understanding of your field. You might have done an MS, you might have done an MPhil, you might have done a MSc, and or you might have done a bachelor's, and you have a lot of research experience already. You are eligible to apply for a PhD in the United States. But at a bachelor's levels, going into a United States, apart from your academics, you do need a GRE and other things. And it can become difficult for students trying to achieve or apply for a PhD right after their bachelor's from India. But if you have that accolades, if you have the premier institution research work, if you worked in institutes of eminence, or government institutions which are under CSIR or DBT, DRDO, those kind of research experience and clarity on what you want to do can give you a chance even post your bachelor's to straight away move into PhD. Although many students think about that's too early, but if you have a clear vision, and if you know that that is what you want to do for the rest of your life, that you want to invest, invent, innovate, and you want to create an impact, change lives, you want to build systems. I'm talking about different courses, so you can imagine about business, management, economics, policies. So there's PhD in almost a lot of courses, and research is really required to keep on reinventing, re-innovating, so that we don't get obsolete. We are with the world, and we're changing and creating an impact, moving ahead. That's why our research is required, and it happens in almost all of the fields that people can get into. And United States have a lot of scope. A lot of universities, a lot of good universities with a lot of prestige and faculties, and also a lot of other factors comes in, like Nobel Prize winning factor that universities accolated with. For example, the top 10, 15 universities in the United States, or the other universities in lower down the ranking, also takes up this factor of academic research index, the student to faculty ratio, the quality of research, facilities, resources, faculty of eminence, faculty, distinguished professors. So, an academic department uh, includes all of these people that makes a strong impact. So, when you think about Harvard, you think about these things. They have a prestige, they have a long standing, they have these people, they have resources, they have the best education system, they have the best education delivery system, they have the best professors, they have the best system, the best competitive system of even enrolling a PhD. So when you are looking for these, targeting these schools, it is competitive. So you need to compete your applicants, your pool of Indian students or international students, because you have to think that even though you think that you are pretty doing well with your profile, but you have must be aware that there may be a student right on the other side of the world that may have a even a higher accolades or an application value compared to you. So a lot of different things that come starts with interacting with asking yourself why you want to do an MBA, why you want to do a PhD, and then you connecting with the supervisors to the programs, you deal with their research groups, people, faculties, and you try to draft a proposal. Some places they require, some places they don't require. You need a couple of letter of recommendations, you need contacts, you build up this until the intake happens in the US. So you probably spend 6 or more of a time to indulge yourself in building up that research acumen. If you lack those skills, get a lot of research internships, get a few publications. That's like a cherry on the cake. Publication is really not very stringent, but some of the top schools really consider that as a cherry on the cake and a way to your next step of an interview. So if you have a quality publication already at your MPhil, MS, or at your bachelor's level, you are on an edge over other students. Uh, so recommendations from a very prolific faculties or accommodations that can recommend you for those programs also are a part of a very important factor. And when we do the chance assessment for PhD students here, we consider these factors of your GPA, of your GRE, of your PhD research acumen, kind of research you have done, publications, research proposal, conference proceedings, a lot of other things that are part of your application. And a successful application is about having all of these, but above from that is to have patience about doing an application. So probably people go through a lot of rejections, then they go for a couple of positive outputs. So the application journey itself can be a very tiring and very complicated, and it can be also at the end of it can be a very fruitful thing when you made it to your chosen school or made it to a PhD, because that's what you want to do. And before I end my talk, I would like to say that Leverage has also introduced scholarship that is worth of 5 crores. And what you need to do as an aspiring student for your higher education abroad, you just need to visit leverageedu.com/scholarships. You have to fill a simple form and ask why you deserve a scholarship. So you write a short essay about your competence and why you deserve the scholarship, and you can win 5 lakh rupees worth of scholarships. So, and we announce the winners every fortnight. What are you waiting for? Apply today at leverageedu.com/scholarships. And thank you very much for attending the webinar every day at 6 p.m. On the Leverage TV live. We are coming up with different topics that's relevant to you for studying abroad, be it colleges, be it admissions, applications, and a lot of interesting questions that we brainstorm and help you, guide you. And so do a log in every day at this time. And if you have missed any part of this session, you can go and watch it again on Leverage TV on our website and on our Facebook page. So thank you very much for attending the webinar.